Hello folks, Ben here, good to see you. We're going to do some Premier League predictions. It's that time of the year, the football's back, the Premier League's back, and we're going to go 20 to top and see where I think the teams in the Premier League will finish this season. I'm going to upset some people. This is the first football video that they'll have seen, and they're going to be annoyed. Fortunately, what I think this isn't guaranteed. Don't worry about it. Everything's going to be fine for your team. Your team are going to be great. Unless you're Bournemouth. We'll start with Bournemouth. So then, folks, in 20th place, I do have the South Coast Assassins. They've never been called that. Bournemouth, yes. Sorry to Scott Parker, back in the Premier League. I'm already going, you're out again. This ain't going to last, mate. They're the best defensive record in the Championship last season, and 2 of those defenders have gone. That's worrying. Nat Phillips came in and did a really good job for them. Laird was there from United as well. He was pretty good. They're losing 2 of those players, a defensive system that basically helped them get promoted towards the end of the year when it was getting a little bit dicey in the Championship. They've gone. They've also lost Gary Cahill. I mean, who's left? And obviously it's not too long since they were last here. They've just got Marcus Tavernier in, who's going to be an interesting player. Was a shining star in the Championship last year for Middlesbrough. We'll see if his energy, his versatility will come in massive handy for them throughout the season. But it's the overall quality of the squad behind the main man, Dominic Solanke. That's what worries me, because this is he hasn't got a choice, really. I say hasn't got a choice. Timu Pukki got 11 goals last year for Norwich and they went down. What were the rest of them doing? So Dominic Solanke, lots to do. And really, the system Parker deploys here has to be based around getting the best out of him. He's done it in the Championship. As we've seen many times, the Premier League is a completely different animal to the Championship. The level of defenders is much, much higher, especially at the top level. So I don't see them staying up. Will they finish bottom? Won't they? I think they will. What do you think? All right, we'll stick with the Reds and we'll stay on the South Coast. Apparently it's not a derby. Don't call it a derby. But next up, we've got Ralph Hasenhüttl's Southampton. And I don't think James Ward-Prowse cannot keep getting away with this. You can't just be good at free kicks and corners, all right? You've got to have more in your game. And I don't know how many players they want to try and get from Manchester City's academy. I think the jig's up. I spoke to some Southampton fans. They're not overly happy. Hasenhüttl doesn't appear very happy. They've spent 50 million quid, right? They've brought in some decent additions. It's not like they're just giving up entirely. Aribo's come in from Rangers. He's going to be a fascinating addition to the Premier League. We don't know what sort of player he's going to be from the Premier League. Is he a Ross McCormack? Is he a Virgil van Dijk? I suspect he might be somewhere in the middle. In the middle. I don't know. I'll leave it there in the middle, Ben. Bazunu in goal is probably the big one to look out for. That's going to be their guy this year. That's the one they're going to stick to. And as I mentioned, Aribo as well is going to provide a little bit of interest, a little bit of craft. They've lost Shane Long. I mean, that's gone under the radar, hasn't it? I mean, Shane, come on. Scored a fast goal once. Oh, Shane. My worry for Southampton is they didn't start well last season. They didn't finish well last season. They had a very good middle period. A middle period that this year has been disrupted a lot. Like, they've got to get... I think that it was key for them last year. They got ahead. If they're having to battle on late in the season, I don't know if that squad is ready for the fight. So Southampton, Ralph, I've got you in 19th. And I think he might be the first manager to go as well, but we'll cover that later on. Oh, Fulham. I just want to get you in a little headlock and go, everything's going to be fine. Probably not a headlock, maybe just a cuddle. The apathy I have towards Fulham in the Premier League, it's based on years of pain. They're just so nice. They probably hate that. It's so patronising. You know, and Babu, that looks like a cool signing. Everyone's going, oh yeah, I've heard of him. And Polina, now that's an interesting signing. It reminds me a little bit of Seri from a few seasons ago, if you remember it. This is a guy that was tipped for loads of clubs, similar to Seri when he was supposed to be going to Barcelona and then just went to Fulham. This guy was linked with Tottenham and United and Arsenal at one stage, all over the Europe in fact, and has now gone to Fulham at 27. And it's a little bit like, well, he must be good. Like, the technical attributes must be there. He must be that kind of player. He's been at Sporting for a long time now, a really good player for them. Will he be a good player for Fulham in this league? It might revolve around him a little bit. If he sits at the base of the midfield or he plays in a 2, like, he could be... at the end of the year, we could be saying Fulham weren't great, but he was. Andreas Pereira, Manor Solomon have joined as well. And Guisa's left. Carvalho's left. They worry me. They were 2 of Fulham's stars. And I'm sorry to Norwich fans are going to hate this video. When Emi Buendia left Norwich, the spark left Norwich. And I'm worried that they've not replaced the spark necessary, whether it be the engine of Anguissa or the craft of Carvalho. I don't know. Carvalho, what are you doing? It's not a football manager. You can say their names correctly in these videos. Come on. All right, Fulham, 18th, Marco Silva. I feel like Marco Silva is still manager of Hull. I don't know what. He's not. He's not been there for ages. He dresses well. I mean, that's the one positive. Snappy dresser. That's what he's in the league for. Right, they've basically signed a new squad. So in 17th place, I have Nottingham Forest. Now, how can we go any further without talking about Jesse Lingard? They've signed Jesse Lingard. Not on 200 grand a week. That was made up. That was quite clearly made up. Nottingham Forest, we're not going to be paying Jesse Lingard. With bonuses, it might get to 200 grand. In the same way that if 25 million people watch this video, I might be a millionaire. But let's be realistic. I'd like to know what he's got to do. Score 4 every game for the rest of time. That'd be good. Omar Rich just joined them at left back. Neco Williams at right back. They've actually signed 2 right backs. One of them can't both play right back. I think Coney might play a little bit further forward. Neco Williams might play further back, or they might change it around. They might just be overlapping each other the whole season. Dean Henderson joins from United as well, so him and Jesse Lingard can share a room on away days. They've thought it through, and I'm thinking with some of the additions, and I actually think Dean Henderson might come into this a little bit. That sort of experience at the back, just when things are getting tough, right? He's been in this situation before with the team. He may know how to handle it slightly better than some of the other sides that have come up and maybe aren't quite as prepared. Forest I feel like there's a bit of a feel-good factor at Forest. I feel like they sort of believe in the project. I really like Steve Cooper. I think he's got a real idea of how to get the best out of the team that he's got in front of him. I think they'll just make it. It'll be close, but I think they'll just make it. It's basically battle of the transfers. So I've put Southampton down there, but if their transfers do well, they'll be fine. If Forest do, they'll be fine. Sorry, is this a chair or a fence? Right, marching on together. We've got Leeds United in its 16th. Calvin Phillips and Rafinha have gone. We know that, okay? That was always pretty much bound to happen. Everyone saw it coming. The additions they've made, though, that wasn't as obvious. Tyler Adams, for me, is the crucial one. Calvin Phillips didn't play a lot last year. That was arguably the reason Leeds struggled. He wasn't a consistent fixture in there. Tyler Adams is going to come in and basically try and do the same job. Now, to me, that's quite interesting because if they're going to try and play a similar way to the way that Bills have played and build the team, you look at, again, some of the other signings they've made, Christensen at right back, right, Aronson playing further forwards, it strikes me that they're trying to build it in Jesse Marsch's image and use what Bills has already built to enhance that. Rather than him trying to change or rewrite the book of Leeds United, they're just trying to move it forward a little bit. It definitely felt like with Bills that it comes to the end of what they were working on. And now it's time to bring something a little fresher. Now, the team that's already there, the players already there, I think are actually decent. Like when you compare them to the other teams that have been there, again, the idea of what they're planning this year, the stability that exists because of Bills there, I actually think stands them in pretty good stead. I arguably think it's the thing that kept them up last year as well. A lot of people have Jesse Marsch down to be the first sacked this season, but I think they'll be all right. I think, again, it's not glamorous 16th place, but I don't necessarily think they'll be dragged into a relegation fight. Although it is 16th, it's bloody close. Now, I feel bad about this one because I feel like they're a victim of the fact that the teams that finished below them last year will probably finish above them next year. We're going back to red again, if you can still see me. And we're going to Brentford. Now, Thomas Frank is one of my favourite managers in the league. As a Liverpool fan, he's a little bit like a mini Klopp in a way. Aaron Hickey's joins them. They've got Lewis Potter as well joining at left wing. Christian Eriksen's left, but I don't think it's going to be as cataclysmically bad as they've dropped down the table, actually, according to me. So it's pretty bad. They're the 11th best away record last year. That stands them in really good stead. They obviously had the promotion hype around them last year, which teams tend to carry the momentum forward from the Championship. There'll obviously be a few teams trying to do that this year to disrupt Brentford. But I thought the signings they made last year were really astute, were really clever. And going off that, and going off signings they made in the season before they got promoted, this Brentford team, they're going to be fine. 11th best away record and better home records than Villa, Brighton, Wolves. 3 teams this year, I think, will be finishing ahead of them. But I don't think Brentford should worry too much. Again, I just think they overperformed a little bit last year, potentially. And this year, it'll just be safely 15th. It's a lovely number. Just enjoy that. Remember who you are, you're Brentford. It's fine. Brighton fans, you're 14th. I know it's the wrong blue, technically, but I've not got a better blue than this. Oh, that one. Is that one? What about the other side? Is that better? It's a bit more purple, though, isn't it? Try my damnedest here. That'll do. It's a combination. Now, so far, for the managers that we've listed, I've not really found one that I don't like. I don't enjoy doing this. And Graham Potter, lovely fella. Anyone that's brave enough to have that haircut in 2022, fair play. They've obviously lost Basuma. That's a big loss. Cucurella, at the time of recording, hasn't gone, but he's definitely going to a team in the Premier League that is either Chelsea or Manchester City. Probably Chelsea. We don't know why. We don't know when or who or where. No, we do know where. We do know where. But Brighton season, for me, all depends on Dennis Undav. Now, he's 26. Brighton bought him last year and then loaned him back to the team they bought him from. UniSG in the Belgian league have been enjoying Undav for a couple of seasons now, and he might just be Premier League ready. Morpie's on the way out as well, so he's gone. So this is the guy. And if Brighton had one issue last year, they did not score enough goals. For a team that had a very, very high XG, their players in forward areas didn't convert enough chances to make them the big dogs in the league. And basically, so what I've had to weigh up is, I think that Undav is probably the focal point of the season. That's where things rest on. I think it's really risky to back a player who's coming from the Belgian league to just go. It's similar to the Championship. It's like, well, is he going to be the guy to make sure everything's okay? I'm just not sure he is. So a few things are changing there, right? They're losing Cucurella, they're losing Basuma. I think Casido is a fantastic player. He's so good. The defensive stability that they have seems to be set in stone at this point too. So it really is about that forward area, and can they unlock Undav to be the guy this year? But we're going to find out. Oh God, if I don't have a blue for Brighton, I certainly don't for Everton. Bloody hell. And if anything, you should be bouncing off the walls that I've got you 13th. Good Lord. After last year, come on. So Frank Lampard, in my notes, I've written, who fucking knows? It can't be worse than last year, can it? Richarlison's out the door. I was gonna say Tosson's out the door, like anyone cares. Who gives a Tosson? Fabian Delph's been released. Can you believe it? And they've gone to Burnley to strengthen. It's bold. You've got to give it to them. It is bold. I do think, again, at time of recording, they've made a few signings. Nothing, like Dwight McNeil's interesting, and Ruben as well is an interesting player on the left side, but you've got to feel like they're going to do more. There's going to be a moment of panic for Everton. It might come after the first few league games. Stay tuned. There might be some real panic. And the amount of letters they're going to go into the league, by the way, about their spending, that's going to be fun to watch. But I think the consensus, and I'm saying all of this, the teams below Everton right now are going, hang on, give me some plus points. I think the consensus last year was actually, when Lampard came in, he didn't do a terrible job. There was this idea that he came in and it didn't really go for them. But actually, he got them going a little bit. And equally, the squad there was criticised for just not really trying. Now, Luca Dean going in January seemed like an odd choice, and Richarlison leaving, they're two big players. But the players that are still there, there's enough for me to still get them firing. Dominic Calvert-Lewin had some phenomenal performances in the Premier League in recent seasons gone by. We didn't see it last year, but when we look at some of the other strikers that sit below him, there's a lot more question marks there. With Calvert-Lewin, it feels like there's a tried and tested method to get the best out of him, and that's what they're going to have to try and work on this year. We won't have his mate Richarlison there anymore, but I just think Everton have a bit more nous, a little bit more know-how, and I don't think Lampard is quite as bad as people think he is. I think we'll cover Everton in more detail in the future, but for now, I'm going to put them at 13th, and it's going to, no, we're just not going to care all season. They're just going to be, just hang out until Tuchel gets sacked. Then Lampard will be linked again, and that'll be chaos. So since recording this piece to camera, it turns out Dominic Calvert-Lewin could be injured for the first 3 months of the season. Everton may not quite finish as high as predicted. I guess we'll discuss this again at the end of August. Okay, next up, Crystal Palace in 12th. Now, this is going to seem not disrespectful, but in my opinion, it's a compliment, so take it as one, Palace fans. You just seem like you're on a really nice, upward trajectory path. You look like you're on a really nice path. Patrick Vieira's come in. He's done a really good job. Sam Johnston's joined you this summer, right? You've brought in a couple of names. Decore's joined. Chris Richards has come in at centre-back. It looks pretty good. By all accounts, you've got rid of some of the players that it was just time to move on. Martin Kelly, we'll forget you probably. It is sad to see Conor Gallagher leave, because I kind of thought I'd like to see him back there. Chelsea aren't going to use him properly, probably, maybe not. No, they won't. And he was a big part of their team last year. Really got them cooking. I wish we could see more of him. I'm kind of gutted that Conor Gallagher's left and gone back to Chelsea, because I thought he was such a pivotal part of their team last year. Really exciting to see him in that lineup. And I thought he gave them a really nice expansive game, as well as being sort of quite combative in midfield. They're obviously going to miss that this year. Decore's been brought in to probably try and rectify that a little bit, but stay there. Don't go and play cup games for Chelsea. I could do that. I couldn't. I don't know why I couldn't do that. Be knackered. I don't think they're quite good enough to be in the European places. I don't think they're likely to be drawn into a relegation dogfight. They're just on a lovely trajectory path. They're on a lovely trajectory. They're off there. I'd say I'll give it 12 years, they'll be winning the league. So stay tuned. Now in 11th, we've got Leicester. Do they know the transfer window's open? 11th. I've got no more to add. Okay, I don't know if Fofana's going to leave. I don't know if Tielemans going to leave. I don't know if Vardy's going to leave. I don't know if they do leave, who are they going to bring in? Is James Maddison leaving? At time of recording, I don't know. We'll talk about them in September when we re-look at this video. and we'll make some changes. Kasper Schmeichel's left. He's got bored. So enjoy yourself. He'll be back soon doing punditry. So that'll be exciting. Stay tuned for that in the coming seasons. He's 35. I think many people think he's just still 26. And by the way, if they do finish 11th, will that be the end of Brendan Rodgers? Cool, hard-hitting analysis. That's what you're here for, isn't it? And speaking of teams that are involved and situate themselves in the Midlands, but aren't really doing anything, but have quite a good core and a good team, and have done it season on season, it feels like, for a while now, but ultimately won't get into Europe or won't be relegated. Wolverhampton Wanderers. I don't have orange. I do red and yellow. Does that create... Oh, look at that. What a vibe. Are we in Wolverhampton or are we in Ibiza, viewers? Come on, now we're talking. Apparently, this is what I think Ibiza's like. I've not been. You have to let me know. Is it like this? I assume it's like this. So yeah, Wolves, 10th. Is that... Well, again, we'll talk about them more as the season goes on. They've signed Nathan Collins at centre-back. He cost him 20 million. He must be good. Analysis. All right then, Newcastle United. That is my attempt at black. Don't mock it. I've got you in 9th. Eddie Howe turned St James's Park, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, into a fortress. Oh, what on earth? He took over on the 8th of November. They only lost to City and Liverpool, which everybody seemed to. They really did turn that place, like the Geordie nation got behind them. Why, it's about time you brought the accent back. Where are we? Where? Oh, trajectory, distracting. The problem they've got, and will you see it as a problem or not? I don't know. They clearly don't because they've not done anything yet. I think everyone thought they would do more. I think everyone thought Karim Benzema was going to be rocking up. But no, they're sticking with Callum Wilson. 8 goals last year. He only played 18 times. He's a bit hit and miss. The striker I would sort of compare him to in the Premier League is Vardy. Vardy's one of these strikers that has a really good year and then has a bit of a year off, and a really good year and a bit of a year off. And other people try and have to take the weight of that a little bit. They are putting a lot of the eggs in the Callum Wilson basket. I hope it's a sturdy bag. It's a bag for life. He's clearly the man that they think is going to progress things for them. Sven Botman has been brought in. That's exciting. They've wanted him for ages. They've pursued him at the nightclub. They've followed him around numerous nightclubs, numerous nights out, and they've finally got their man. Well done, Newcastle. He's tall. He's very tall. Matthew Targett signed on a permanent deal as well. Nick Pope's joined them. I think they're strengthening in all the right areas. I think the base they've got there already, I think they did some good work in January, which stands them in good stead. Trippier will be back fit again as well, of course. I think they've got a bit of a outside shot at Europe. I can't believe I've said it. But that defensive recruitment is huge. And as a Liverpool fan, Dwight Gale's left the league. Thank God for that. It's the Palace thing from years ago. I'm not over it. Right then, Hammers, 8th. Last year was phenomenal. Like, take nothing away. People didn't talk about it enough, actually, other than West Ham fans. They didn't shop about it. But what an incredible season David Moyes and West Ham had last year, right? The impacts of being in Europe towards the end of the season, that wasn't ideal. That definitely hindered them a little bit. Like, I think no one spoke more to that than Mikel Antonio. Looked very, very leggy towards the end of the year. Was very much asked to do that job on his own, it felt like. Scamacca's been brought in. We'll see how good he is. 6'4". Works pretty hard, though. He's not one of these 6'4" players that will stand up front and just wait for everything. He'll go and make things happen, right? We'll see. There's a few strikers being bought like him. Undav at Brighton that we talked about. Scamacca, to me, is in a similar situation. Played at a slightly higher level, you'd argue. Either of them, if they catch fire early, right? Confidence as a striker appears to be everything. If they can get that nice and early on, that could be the catalyst. And I don't think 8th for them this year, again, back in Europe once again, is any disgrace whatsoever. I really like Scamacca being brought in. Areola in goal looks like a really good addition. Aguerd at centre-back as well. I've definitely said that wrong, but it sounded good. It just seems to fit. Obviously, a big loss with Mark Noble. Declan Rice is now the West Ham guy. It seems like he's going to have to carry them forwards. And I've just realised about how pink this is, and they're not going to like that. That's not made it any better, has it? But West Ham, 8th place, and I love the Scamacca transfer. I think it's gonna. I really want to see how well he does. Now in 7th place, and we'll stick with the same colour scheme. Why not? Just to annoy all of them. Aston Villa, Steven Gerrard. This better go well for you, Stevie. Now don't be thinking. I know you're already in your comment section. Oh, he's a Liverpool fan. He obviously put Gerrard 7th. The squad that they've got, if they don't finish 7th without Europe, bear in mind, and that's a huge factor for me in this, then he's at big risk. Big risk. You don't sign Coutinho on a permanent deal. You don't get Kamara in and Diego Carlos, right? And then cock it up. From the moment he came into Villa, they were the 9th best team in the league. Obviously, I have them slightly higher now at 7th, and that is largely due to, I think that Boubacar Kamara joining them, playing that central defensive midfield role, could drop back into defence as well, but playing that defensive midfield role, shielding the back line. Ask any Villa fan. They've been missing it for ages. Douglas Luiz was never quite cut out to do that particular job. Neither was someone like John McGinn. This is the man they've been waiting for. Hope he doesn't get injured. Oh, if he does, that'll be my fault. They can't afford, though, to have a season with what was such a negative record when Gerrard came in. 10 wins, 12 defeats. Like, it wasn't good enough. Dean Smith didn't start particularly well. He didn't deal with the lack of Jack Grealish at all. But the tools at Gerrard's disposal there in the season that Dean Smith had prior to Gerrard's arrival shows me that Villa are set up to be better than people expect. And the additions they've made, there's a lot of hype around Diego Carlos, and we're yet to see really if he'll fit into the Premier League and look like a Premier League centre-back. But it could be a really shrewd addition, right? A player that other teams will look at and think, we should have gone and that's an error. And to get Kamara, a man that was probably wanted by a lot of teams around Europe, again, it's a really shrewd addition. Coutinho, for me, I'm not sure about that transfer. I think it's a bit of a gamble. I think it's a bit of a risk. But ultimately, I think if there's one man who's going to get the best out of Coutinho, it might be Steven Gerrard. But to me, Coutinho plays well once in every 3 to 4 games, and you need a bit more consistency with him. But Buendia, that might be the guy to step up and actually be the star this season when Coutinho can kind of play distraction. Either way, Ollie Watkins, Danny Ings, get them scoring. Villa will score goals, but now they've got a chance of keeping a few more out, and that's going to be crucial. So Aston Villa and Steven Gerrard, 7th, and any lower than 10th, and they'll be calling for his head. And they're probably right to do so. Okay, let's start annoying some people. I'm really worried about Thomas Tuchel. And it's not Thomas Tuchel's fault. It's not Chelsea's fans' fault. It's not the team's fault. History is making me worried about Thomas Tuchel. The signings are really good, right? Conor Gallagher, who I mentioned, are going to be missed by Palace, but is rejoined. It's like a new signing in a way. Cucurella looks like he's joining as well, which probably relieves the fears of the Chilwell injury situation that they had last season. Koulibaly seems like a good addition. Again, Fofana might be on the horizon. And Raheem Sterling sounds like a great signing. It all sounds really good, doesn't it? It all sounds a little bit too good to be true. Lukaku's gone, Rudiger's gone, Christensen's gone. I think Rudiger's probably the biggest miss out of those 3 players. He's obviously the biggest miss out of those 3 players. But Thomas Tuchel is not Todd Bowley's man. And if there's someone to lay blame at this year, they won't do it to the dressing room. They won't be put on the board because it's new, it's fresh. It'll be put on Thomas Tuchel. And we saw when the pressure built, eventually he was happy to leave PSG. And I worry that we might see a similar situation here, where if Chelsea starts slowly, or if in any way it's not going the way people want it to go at that football club, you will see a change because it's the most disposable thing they can change. And I don't think it'd be wise to get rid of him, but I think the disruption of him potentially leaving mid-season will cause a 6th place finish. And I think the squad's good, and I think the talent they've got there is definitely capable. I'm worried about Havertz up front all season, and it looks like Timo Werner's going to leave, and if that's the case, then bizarre. But I'm putting Chelsea, someone's got to go there, and I'm not certain on it, and I think Chelsea are just as likely to finish second, but I have this hunch, and it's just my feeling that something's going to go wrong for Chelsea, and Thomas Tuchel will be the man to suffer. And Eddie Howe will guide them to the Europa League, or something weird. All right, in 5th place. Oh, they're going to love this. I've made the background red. So, what are you thinking? Manchester United, correct. To quote Theresa May, nothing has changed, has it? You read the reports or the previews on Man United last year. They're basically the same as this year, other than Sancho and Varane. All right, there's a bit of a difference. They're rebuilding, aren't they? Again, it feels like. And Ten Hag, to me, feels like a much better choice than Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to do that. I think some of the additions they've made, right, getting someone like Lisandro Martinez in, the versatility of him to play probably 3 positions, arguably, actually, or 4 if you include the fact that you can play 2 types of central defensive role as a 2 or a 3. That's the right sort of player they should be bringing in. Yes, it's a lot of money. Yes, he may even be a squad player. It looks early on like he's going to start, though, because there's some concerns around Varane. That sort of stuff is quite positive. Christian Eriksen choosing to join Manchester United when, again, he'll have had so many options around the league. That's exciting too. And even though it is a bit Bruno-esque, it feels like the right sort of player to put in that Manchester United side. It might make them a little bit more likeable as well for a change. Now they've released a few of the other players that felt like their times at Manchester United were done, right? Pereira's gone, Lingard's gone, Pogba's gone, Mata's gone, Cavani's gone, Matic has gone as well. So many players have left. The wages have released. Frankie de Jong hasn't joined yet. At the time of recording, nothing will have changed. He'll still not be sure, I imagine. So Why fifth? Well, they still don't have a defensive midfielder. There are still major concerns about them at centre-back. Left-back still feels like a question mark. Right-back, you assume will be Dalot, but there's concerns with Wan-Bissaka still being there. De Gea hasn't looked as convincing. I don't think he was particularly good last season either, if I'm being completely honest. Central midfields, you have Van der Beek's come back in, the likes of McTominay, the likes of Fred. Who starts out of this combination of five they've got when you add Eriksen and Fernandes into that? And why can none of them play the defensive midfield role? It might be because Ten Hag believes he doesn't need one, and that's probably a video in itself. We'll probably talk about that at the end of the transfer window if they don't buy one. There'll be logic behind that. The Frankie de Jong stuff is linked. And then in the forward areas, Anthony Martial set to score 20 goals this year, apparently. So we'll see if that's true. The one thing I'm going to guarantee for United is that Jadon Sancho will be their player of the year. He's ready. He looks sharp. He looks up for it. I'm backing him. All right, we'll keep it red for Mikel Arteta's Arsenal. There's a connection, a synergy, a togetherness about Arsenal that they don't seem to have had since Wenger in the early 2000s. It's a long time since this has been the case, and there feels like there's an air of positivity, right? The transfers seem to have impressed them. How can Gabriel Jesus not impress Arsenal fans? He's clearly an exciting addition to that team. I can't wait to see how he gets on for them this year. He might be the top goal scorer in the league, or at least in the conversation. But let's ignore pre-season. I just think the way Arsenal play and the type of striker Jesus is, I think there's just loads, or Jesus, I don't know how you want to say it. You pick. I just think they're set up to score goals, and I think he's going to be pivotal to that. He's a really good addition. I think Zinchenko's really smart. I think Vieira's really smart as well. He's going to be really interesting. They've basically for years people have gone, replace Vieira, and they've gone, we'll sign someone called Vieira then, and then so they have done. That's been solved. Guendouzi's left, of course. Lacazette, Aubameyang's already out the door. He'd gone before that. I think it's an exciting Arsenal side. I like the combinations of Odegaard and Saka, and combinations of Smith Rowe and Martinelli. I really like Gabriel at centre back. And I think there's something to be said for the consistency of that squad compared to Manchester United and the problems I think they'll be at Chelsea. Let me make this clear. I think Chelsea have a better 11 than Arsenal. And I think on their day, Manchester United are pretty close as well. But I just think Arteta is building something. I think the fans are behind it. The board seem to be behind it as well, based on the additions that they've made, right? It just feels like everything's coming together a little bit at Arsenal. And this might be the next step. The one big question mark, they've got Europe. How are they going to deal with both? And that's the big question. That is the big question mark. The bottom of it is so big, you can't even see the bottom of the question mark. All right, Arsenal fans, I hope you enjoyed that. Tottenham are going to finish above you. Conte, third. Harry Kane and Son are the best partnership since Sonny and Cher. Wow, how old am I? Anton Deck. What's Anton Deck? Come on, Anton Deck. You didn't even get him into the Newcastle bit. The important thing with Kane and Son isn't that they're just two players that play really well in the same team. They're a partnership. So while that's their biggest strength, it's not going to be their biggest weakness as well, right? If you lose one of them, oh dear. Well, what do? Sign Richarlison. Maybe have a bit of a plan B if that's to happen. All right, it's not Janssen, is it, from years ago? They've finally decided to bring someone in who's going to play as pretty good fodder for if Kane or Son aren't starting every single game. Kulusevski, I think, is fantastic as well. Great that they've got him back for another season. And then the likes of Basuma and Perisic and Longley. It's a really sick transfer window from Tottenham. They've won the transfer window. Like, fair play. You don't get a trophy for it, but it's good. Got a lot of time for it. Well done, Tottenham. They had some tricky periods last year, but the team just seemed behind Conte's methods now. And the big thing for me is Kane last year, 17 and 37, right? He'll get more than that this year. He's had a summer off. He's relaxed. He's played a lot of golf, I'd imagine. He's happy. All right, then. Who do I have winning the Premier League title? Is it Liverpool, my team, or is it Manchester City? We'll do them together. We'll do red that side, and we'll do blue that side. Oh, that's nice. Look at that. All right, so do I think it'll be Liverpool? Do I think it'll be Manchester City? The winners of the Premier League come May will be Manchester City. But let's start with Liverpool. Jurgen Klopp has a team out for revenge, and the signing of Núñez to me seems like just the perfect buy for Liverpool. Arguably should have happened last year. Maybe not Núñez. Like, they missed out on Werner, obviously, was someone of interest. It feels like the right player for them. It just gives them a little bit of a different dimension. I arguably think Núñez is a better fit than Werner would have been. The extra bit of height, that physical presence, the chaos he brought in the Community Shield was a good example of what he might bring game on game for them. And he just seems like a perfect fit for them. It says a lot, really, that there's not been a huge amount made of Sadio Mane leaving Liverpool. He's gone to Bayern Munich. Luis Diaz has come in and is quite clearly the replacement. Job done. Great work by Liverpool's board to get that done so quickly. And the rest of the sides, we talk about consistency and the makeup of squads not changing too much and knowing who they are and what they are. Liverpool have got that in abundance. Like, they are so prepared for the coming season, it feels like. There isn't going to be this last-ditch dash for loads of players, unless there's like some major injury to somebody, like Salah, for example. But even then, it might not happen. They might just play Harvey Elliott out on that side and try and make it work. We've seen them do that as well. There are spending limits to Liverpool Football Club. But as much as I think they're fantastic, I just think Manchester City are that little bit better. And I think Erling Haaland is the X factor. And I'm not going to use the Community Shield as the example of, well, he missed a sitter, so they should be worried about him. He's the elite marksman in world football, right? And Mbappe, of course, is right up there with him, and Karim Benzema is very good, and Mo Salah himself is in that conversation. But there's a reason Erling Haaland was the most prized asset of any team around Europe this summer, and City got it done quickly, and he might just be the difference. But if you're Pep Guardiola, and this is arguably what gives them the edge, even if it's not working with Haaland, even if they have to revert to something else, they can probably win the league without him. They did it last year. Now, the loss of Fernandinho might play a little part in that, and Calvin Phillips coming in, it's going to be interesting. And how much will they miss Raheem Sterling? Again, a player I think is hugely underrated, and I think will have a good time at Chelsea. But it's something about the way that Pep's got that City team drilled that I think just gives them the edge against some of the weaker sides still, where occasionally Liverpool just don't always get over the line. And we've seen it in a couple of seasons, right, where they've been very close. The seasons that get close tend to go to City. So what I'm assuming this year is we're going to have another year where it's very close. And as a result, it will just tip over to City. Damn. But, you know, I thought that one year and Liverpool won it by December, so who knows. That then is going to conclude my Premier League predictions. Top goal scorer, I'm going Gabriel Jesus. First manager sacked, I'm going Ralph Hasenhüttl, and there's a few others to go through. Player of the year, I think will go to Mo Salah, but young player of the year, I believe will go to Phil Foden, and we'll see how right I am come the end of the year. Future Ben, how did you do? And let me know your thoughts, of course, in the comment section down below. If you want to see my thoughts throughout the season, make sure you're subscribed. A lot more football content coming on this channel, as well as some Football Manager stuff. If you've got all the way to the end and thought, is this the end of the Football Manager stuff? No, they'll be back. But yeah, this is the new part of the journey and the adventure I'm going to have on YouTube. So if you enjoyed it, I would really appreciate you dropping a like on the video at this early stage. At the end of the video. What? I've really got to learn YouTube more. Really got to get it in this. Really got to learn it. But thank you for watching. I'll see you again soon for another one. And take care of yourselves. We're in for one hell of a season.